In the previous online grammar presentations for Unit 21, Connectors, we discussed using coordinating and correlative conjunctions as well as conjunctive adverbs to combine two equal simple sentences to form a compound sentence. In this video, we will discuss another kind of sentence combination using subordination. Please watch the presentation and complete the presentation review before class on Monday, April 21st. If you don't have a completed review sheet, I will ask you to leave class during our grammar practice to complete the assignment. Unlike a compound sentence, delete that part. Unlike a compound sentence, which combines two equal sentences, a complex sentence combines an equal simple sentence with a subordinate clause, or a clause that is less important. A clause is just a group of words that have a complete subject and a complete verb phrase. An independent clause is a simple sentence that can stand alone. It doesn't need more information to complete it. For example, "It is cold today" is a complete sentence. It has a subject, it, and a verb, is, and it can stand by itself. Another example, "I often use a computer." This is also a complete sentence. It expresses one idea, and it has a subject, I, and a verb, use. However, a dependent clause is not a complete thought and must be added to another clause to be understood. Independent and dependent clauses are combined to form a complete complex sentence. For example, "When I work" is not a complete sentence. It does have a subject, I, and a verb, work, but the subordinating word, when, makes it not a complete idea, and we expect more information. Same thing with "if they want to go" in the next sentence. It does have a subject, they, and a verb, want, but if makes the word if, which is a subordinator, makes us wonder what happens if they want to go, or what about when I work. One type of complex sentence uses a particular type of dependent clause called an adverb clause. That's what we're learning about in this chapter. An adverb clause modifies the independent main clause like an adverb. It tells us how, when, where, why, and under what conditions something might happen. It can go before the main clause with a comma, or after the main clause with no comma. Adverb clauses always start with a subordinating conjunction. The next slides will give you examples of the most common subordinating conjunctions. Also, you can check your appendix in the back of your Focus and Grammar book, pages A9. There are two important rules to remember when using adverb clauses. The first rule: when the complex sentence is about future time, the adverb clause verb phrase should use some form of present tense. You can use simple present, present continuous, or present perfect. See the example about Bob. When Bob comes, the girls will go home. So the main clause is the girls will go home, and that's about the future. It hasn't happened yet. But if you look in the adverb clause, when Bob comes, you'll first see that the adverb clause starts with the subordinator when, the subordinating conjunction. There's a subject, Bob, comes, the verb phrase, and notice that the verb phrase is actually in present tense, even though we are talking about future time. The second rule to remember is with the subordinating conjunctions whereas or while. And while has two meanings. It has a time meaning, meaning at the same time, but it also has a direct opposite meaning. So the meaning I'm talking about here is when we mean direct opposites. So when I use while as a direct opposite, then this rule applies. And the rule is we usually use while and whereas in the middle with a comma like a coordinating conjunction, but it's not a coordinating conjunction, so be careful. For example, I like to study, comma, whereas my roommates like to party. So there's a contrast here, it's opposites. I like to study, my roommates don't. So we put whereas, the subordinating conjunction, and we put a comma even though it's in the middle. Same thing with while. My sister is a good cook, while I can't even fry an egg. So my sister is good at cooking, I am not. I put the subordinating conjunction while in the middle, in front of the adverb clause, and I use a comma in the middle. And these are the only two subordinating conjunctions we use commas when the adverb clause is second. Okay, here are some common complex sentences that use subordinating conjunctions. The meanings here are about location and time. Pause the video and read the examples so that you understand. Okay, on the next slide, here are other subordinating conjunctions with other meanings. These meanings have to do with condition, direct opposites, which we just talked about, purpose, reason, and the unexpected result. Pause the video, read the examples, and make sure that you understand. Okay, before we end, let's summarize the grammar in Unit 21, Sentence Connectors. In English writing, there are 4 types of sentences. A simple sentence is an independent clause with a complete subject and verb phrase. It expresses a complete idea. If you use too many in a paragraph, your writing will not flow. It will sound choppy. You can use conjunctive adverbs with simple sentences to transition from one sentence to the next sentence. The next type of sentence is a compound sentence. A compound sentence combines 2 independent clauses using coordinating conjunctions, and we talked about fanboys. Paired conjunctions like neither nor, not only but also, and or conjunctive adverbs. Notice that when the clause begins with some paired conjunctions, we use question order. Not only did he win, but also he set a new record. Also, we use semicolons and commas with conjunctive adverbs when we are combining simple sentences. The next type of sentence we just talked about is a complex sentence which combines an independent and a dependent clause. One type of dependent clause is an adverb clause. Use a comma if the adverb clause is first. Don't use future tenses in an adverb clause. The final type of sentence is a combination of a compound and complex sentence. We call them compound complex sentences. In English, we can occasionally combine more than 2 clauses or 3 clauses using compound sentence patterns or complex sentence patterns. If you overuse compound complex and compound complex sentences, your writing will sound wordy and too long-winded. Sentence variety is important. You shouldn't have more than 2 of these compound complex sentences in a paragraph because they are really long and a lot of information. So, this concludes the short online presentation. Please bring the video review to class on April 21st.